The L4 is nearly over, so I've put off doing this all L4, but it's the tactics. So I've had a good play with them, a whole L4, and I just wanted to share a few thoughts on what I liked and what I didn't like, and why these, and how I used them, and why I didn't like them maybe, or why I didn't use them. So some of these aren't going to be particularly relevant for me because I play as a defensive player. I use predominantly artillery. So some of these, much like emergency recruiting, for example, I'm not out in the field a great deal, so it doesn't really make much sense for me to use this. But if you do not have, or if you want to mitigate the length of time it's taking for your ground troop to receive additional healing and forces and stuff like that, skills like this come in very handy. The other one is focus support. It restores HP, and the skill will not recruit more units than the troop's barracks capacity allows. So that obviously you've got two skills here where you can restore HP, and one where it gives you a little bit of HP and it gives you some units back. Very, very useful for soaks like the SH and infantry out in the field. I didn't get to see any of those used. I did get to see the defense tactic used. Now it says here it grants your own selected ground force troop special shield, making them immune to direct damage from the enemy tactics for 80 seconds. This is good if the base you're attacking is online and they're going to try and use one of the other skills, which is going to deal damage. The problem is knowing which unit they're going to target. It's very difficult to determine. Air Dominion deploys a drone that's going to shoot down aircraft in the area that you have deployed it in. It does it at a very slow rate of fire. It's pretty good at taking out fighters, not too good at taking out bombers unless they're particularly weak. To be perfectly honest, it feels like it's a bit of a waste. I feel like just a good fighter. It works in lieu of a fighter. If you have no fighters, then it's handy. Area defense puts up a flag on the map within 20 grid range of your base and reduces the direct damage taken by allied ground force troops within 3 by 30% from enemy tactics. Again, this one prevents enemy tactics from dealing a lot of damage to your units. So if they are popping a defensive tactic which allows the increase of damage by 20% for all units, that's going to mitigate that. Powerful slowdown. Didn't actually use this in the L4. Didn't see anyone use it. I think it has its place if you're really chasing something down. But to be perfectly honest, it's nothing that you couldn't achieve with the combination. I mean, if you're using the right combination of units and you're chasing down units anyway with helicopters, light tanks, etc., you're not going to use it. And if you don't have those units, then it's kind of a moot point that you're not. Are you really going to be doing any chasing down with an SH? Probably not. So you're not really going to use this. I haven't seen any necessity to use this at all for anyone. Defense boost increases the damage resist of your selected ground force troop by 18% for 5 minutes. Very handy. But as with a lot of these, it says your own. So if you have an AG and you're in charge of an AG, you cannot do it to a specific unit in that AG unless you personally own that unit. And you'll see a theme of that. Heavy bombardment strikes an enemy ground force troop in a target map grid 5 range of the selected ground force unit. It has to be a unit you own again. Deals damage equal to 32% of the enemy's current troop HP. Pretty much this is just for field counter battery in the field, artillery. Would you use it? I mean, it takes about 5 to 10 minutes for you to get your energy back. So you must really want to win that one-on-one fight to pop this. I don't see it being useful unless you've got everyone online all using it in order to wipe out another AG that isn't using them faster. Now, temporary defense. This is one of the ones I do actually want to talk a great deal about. Grants a shield to your selected ground force troops for 2 minutes, shield coefficient of 10,000. So you get a coefficient shield of 10,000 on uh, on the selected unit. So if you have an infantry unit or you have an SH, you want to start tanking a base, you deploy this just before that soak unit engages, and that's going to give you that nice extra chunk of shield, which is going to allow you to get more time soaking up damage for the artillery to obviously push forwards. Now here's the thing, if you've got two AGs running and you've got one guy running the SH, which is his, and he then deploys this on his SH, you can then in turn, if you are operating the artillery, use attack boost on your strongest artillery piece, which increases the damage of the selected ground force troop by 18% for 5 minutes. So you can see how some of these will work in tandem. Very useful if you have Discord or you're in voice chat of some description, so you can orchestrate how these work sort of more effectively. Reinforced wall increases the base wall damage resist by 20% for 5 minutes. This is kind of like one of those last ditch ones. It's like I've used all my other defensive options. It's time just to buckle up and hold on tight. It does what it says on the tin. Just gives you an extra 20% on your wall, which can make or break something. But I will say this going forward as we get into these last three, I would only use this as a last resort. Places a flag on a map grid within 20 of the base, and all the units within that gain firepower of up to 15% within a 3 map grid range of the flag. This is good if you're in a base-to-base situation where there's AGs involved. We used it. It does work. It's very, very, very good. It will basically pump that AG's damage up a lot higher. You stick it right over the back of the artillery or right in the middle where the tanks are. Job's good. So we're going to get into the last two. Now these two are my favorite ones because you can equip them both at the same time and they basically do the same thing. So we'll start with mass air raids. Strikes an enemy ground force troop in the target map grid. 5 range of the ground force troop you select deals damage to the enemy troop every 3 seconds for 9 seconds. Damage coefficient of 4,400, which is a very high amount of damage coefficient. Now, when an enemy AG approaches your base, you're left with two very distinct options with either mass air raids or single air raid. And that is, do you eliminate the soak unit or do you eliminate one of the hardest hitting artillery pieces? And that depends entirely upon your setup and entirely upon the composition of the AG and how many units there are. If there's a lot of units, you might want to elect to eliminate the soak unit immediately upon it arriving at your base. You let it attack your base first. The base is engaged. As soon as that happens, you drop either mass air raids on it or you drop a single air raid. Now, single air raid actually deals nearly double, or deals more than double, deals 9,750 damage coefficient. You can pretty much take out a single bunker of infantry with this. You can take out like 95% of its hit points in one single strike. Very, very handy, because once that infantry bunker is gone, if that was the unit that started the attack, you're going to just start chewing through all of the backline artillery, all of the tanks that are attacking your base. It's just going to be one after the other, a domino effect. Alternatively, as I said before, if it's a small AG and there's quite a lot of firepower at the back and quite a lot of dense soak at the front, maybe you go after the firepower first, for the sake of saving yourself 2 or 3 seconds, because there's obviously no guarantee it's going to target the artillery, and you're not there to inflict mass damage. You're there to survive in a small situation. When there's a lot of them, I prefer to inflict large quantities of casualties rather than actually try and survive, because if I'm inflicting casualties, the enemy can't fight at a later date. So that's how I use these two. I did record some footage of usage. It is somewhere on my hard drive. I have reformatted. We'll see. We'll see what comes of it. I did promise to do a PvP video. I haven't done one yet, so we're going to get to that later on, hopefully, now the L4 is effectively over. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this. I did originally think these were going to be terrible, that these were going to just be game breaking, but what they've done is they've made it easier for someone who's online to defend their base and harder for medium to small sized AGs to attack an online base. So it's led to an additional dynamic where you want to attack bases that are offline, which is easier said than done, that's for sure, because you've got no guarantee. Even if you say, hey, this guy is normally offline at this time, you've got no guarantee of that. It could be his day off from work or anything like that. So there's a lot of dynamics to this. I like it. I hope they keep it in the game. I believe they are planning on doing that. By the time this comes out, you'll probably know more than me in that regards. I don't think it's going to come in at this strength. I think this is what you're supposed to build up to. We've not really been given much information on this during the L4 other than here's some tactics cards, just sort of have your way with it. But I like them. I think when this comes out, it'll make a nice addition to the game. I think it'll be a very fun extra measure for both base offense, base defense, and field usage for AGs, and I can see them expanding on this over time. And overall, I'm pretty happy with it, and I think you guys will be as well if you haven't got round to playing with these yet. But I imagine there's been more videos out there supplied by other YouTubers who are more knowledgeable than myself. So thanks for watching.